Hi everyone. Today we are going to build a very simple game using ChatGPT as our coding copilot, and we are going to use Python as our programming language, and we are going to use Flask, which is a framework within Python using which we can create web applications. This is going to be a game which in theory you can host on a website and share with your friends. This is something which you can also run on your local machine like a laptop, and you can access it using your mobile phone. And the reason I want to do this exercise is twofold. The first one, ChatGPT is capable of doing some very complicated and some amazing tasks. And this is an example of. Secondly, guess the number game in itself is a very good starting point for understanding game mechanics, programming, and how do you go about building things. This merges the best of both worlds. One of the things that I promise you in today's video is that we're not going to write even a single line of code. We're going to explain to ChatGPT what we want to do and just copy paste the code that ChatGPT gives us. We don't need to have any understanding of programming. That being said, we will need to set up a development environment. I think this is a great example for somebody who's just getting into programming or an AI enthusiast who's looking to do slightly complex things with ChatGPT that is one step ahead of content generation. So what exactly is Guess the Number? Guess the Number is a very simple game where computer thinks of a number between 1 and 100 and the player has to guess it. And every time player makes a guess, computer tells them whether they should guess higher, guess lower, or whether their guess is correct. And the objective is that the player has to guess the number in least number of turns. The reason I have picked this example is when I was running game development almost a decade back now, this is one of the first games I had built. And the reason for doing that was this game is a good introduction into game mechanics and even programming. The game mechanics are not so complex that we get overwhelmed by them, but there is a lot of scope for incremental improvement once we have built the basic thing. And there are just 3 key rules to our game. So it's like the first rule is player 1 has to think of a number. The second rule is player 2 has to guess the number in the least number of attempts. And there has to be a mechanism for player 1 to provide feedback to player 2, whether the guess was too high, too low, or whether it was correct. And like I said, we will build it using ChatGPT and Python. ChatGPT will use for generating code. And we are going to have integrated development environment for Python, which is basically what is called a Python IDE. And in our case, we'll be using this PyCharm. So the first step in our process is basically to see whether ChatGPT even understands what we want to do. So, hey ChatGPT, so hey ChatGPT, do you know about this game called Guess the Number? And here we go. So, okay, ChatGPT is familiar with Guess the Number. Each time the player makes a guess, they receive feedback indicating whether the guess was too high, too low, correct. Bingo. It exactly understands what the game is. So now, since we don't have to explain the logic of the game to ChatGPT, we can straight ahead and go and ask ChatGPT to create the code for us. Okay. So here is a step-by-step guide. We'll have to install Flask, obviously. Then we have to create app.py, which is basically ChatGPT give us the entire code for app.py. We'll have to create an HTML template, which is index.html, and it has to be inside a templates folder. And it has given us code for that as well. Okay, so we are going to use PyCharm. So if you don't have PyCharm already, I would suggest there are 2 ways to go about it. If you want the lightweight approach, I would just say go to JetBrains/PyCharm, click on downloads, and you will see 2 versions of PyCharm here, PyCharm Professional and PyCharm Community Edition. So PyCharm Community Edition is the free version, and that is more than enough for our purposes. If you are serious about being a Python developer, using it for data science, building a lot more applications, I would suggest you go ahead and download Anaconda. Anaconda provides a lot of resources, and one of those resources is PyCharm. So for this video, we are using PyCharm, but whether you get PyCharm through Anaconda or whether you download just the PyCharm from JetBrains website, that is up to you. So let's go ahead and start PyCharm. So let's go ahead, create a new project. Let's call it guess the number again, and let's create it. And as ChatGPT told us, first we are going to install Flask. To install Flask, as you can see, hey, make sure you have Flask installed. If not, you'll have to install it using pip. So to access pip, basically we have to go to terminal. So we'll go ahead and paste pip install Flask. And what this will do is it will go and get all the files necessary for Flask. Next, we have to create app.py. So app.py is generally created directly in the project folder. Let's call it app and paste all the code here. Next, we'll have to create a folder called templates within the project folder. And within templates, we have to create an HTML file called index. So index.html, and then we can go ahead, copy the entire code. Now we have all the necessary files for this game. Now there are a couple of ways that we can go ahead and play it. One, we can go to app.py, hit run, or we can do Ctrl+Shift+F10. We can also do run by clicking on the tab for the file. Or my favorite, the big green button. Now, as we can see, the server is running. Now we should be able to go and check this app in our browser. And this is the URL on which this application is currently available. As you can see, it's basically guess the number. We can go ahead, enter 50. Our guess is too high. Okay, what about 25? That is too low. 35 is too high. How about 30? 30 is also too high, so it has to be somewhere between 25 to 30. Let's go ahead with 27. 27 is low. What about 28? Congratulations, you guessed the number in 6 attempts. Play again. But why do we need an input field here? Okay, so that is one bug. Do we notice anything else? Well, let's go ahead and play again and see what a couple of other issues. One, guess the number. So it's like, can I go ahead and say 1000? Doesn't make sense to me. What about minus 1000? That is also fine. So I think we should add one line about the range of the guesses that we can make. If possible, we should include it in the validation so that if we are making a guess which is outside the range, then it should not accept that as an input. Third thing is, I don't like getting auto-suggest in this game. It kind of breaks the flow. Fourth one is, when the page loads, wouldn't it be wonderful if the cursor is already here so we don't have to come and click on it every time? Right, so let's go and tell ChatGPT about these 4 issues. 1. Here are a few observations. So basically we're asking ChatGPT that there are 4 observations we have made and you should go ahead and fix them. One is, can we add a line under the headline explaining the range of the game and put validation so users can't enter numbers beyond the range? Second, can you disable autocomplete for input field? Can you put the focus on input field when the page loads? And then, why is there input field on congratulations page? There should be just congratulations message and play again button. And let's hit enter. Sure, we can make those improvements. Below is an updated code for incorporating the changes, and it explains exactly what changes it has made. Right? So one is add a line under the headline explaining the range. Very good. Added validation to ensure the user cannot enter numbers beyond the specified range. Very good. Disabled autocomplete for the input field. Set the focus on input field when the page loads. Modify the congratulation page to show only the message and a play again button. So app.py file is generated. Let's go ahead and replace it. So one of the advantages why I suggest that we use an IDE is it has some very neat features, right? It has something called as location history, which I find very handy because we are copy pasting code multiple times from ChatGPT. So we can see exactly what changes are made. So this time around, when we copy the code and bring it in, we can actually go and see what changes we have made. So it looks like there are no changes whatsoever. It's exactly the same code for app.py. But I think there will be some changes in index.html because they are more of a front-end changes than server-side changes. And if we see here, we can see that ChatGPT has added a script. It has added this extra line that we asked me to add and a couple of other things. But a better way to validate is go back. Let's close these two and refresh the page. And as we can see, it has added a line, guess a number between 1 and 100. Wonderful. And then we have our input field. And once we refresh it, the focus is on the input field. Wonderful. So let's say 50. 50 is too high. 25 is too high. 12 is also too high. 6, 3. So 3 is low. Switch 4. It should be 5. Sure. Wonderful. But still, as we can see, the input field is still visible in the congratulations screen. So you can go ahead and tell this to ChatGPT. One of my favorite things to do is take a screenshot and share it with ChatGPT so it understands what we're talking about. Why is the input field visible in congratulations screen? I thought you fixed it. And let's go ahead and see what ChatGPT does. It looks like the input field is still visible on the congratulations screens. Let me make sure the template logic correctly handles this scenario. Okay. So again, ChatGPT has generated 2 files for us. Let's copy paste by again. Then changes into 2 code. Again, there are no changes. Index.html. Still generating index.html. Generated. Place it. Let's have a look at the changes. So on success, it has made a few changes for sure. Okay. So let's go ahead and refresh the page. Guess is too low. I don't know what it's talking about. 75. Too sorry, it's too high. I think 50 is also too high, so it should be 25. 25 is too low. 35. 35 is too high. 30. 30 is too low. What about 33? 30 is too low, so it should be 34 for sure. Yes, guess a number between 1 and 100. Congratulations, you guessed the number in 6 attempts. Wonderful. So one thing, it would be better if we can have the focus on play again, so that, just by clicking on it, we can create this endless loop where you can play as many levels as you want. So basically, we're asking ChatGPT to do 3 things for us. Put the focus on play again in congratulations screen. Currently, play again is a link. So we want it to turn it into a button. And third, hide guess the number between 1 and 100 for congratulations screens because it doesn't make any sense here. Right, and let's enter. Let's update our code. App.py. It looks like it's the same code still. There is no point in copy pasting it again. And let's go and refresh it again. This is play again. So 50. Too low, 75 too low, 85 too high, 80 too low, 83 too high, 82 too Correct. Congratulations, guess the number in 6 attempts. Focus is on play again. If we just hit enter, we'll start a new game again. We have hidden the message, and now we are showing, just the message and how many attempts it took to play the game. I generally like dark themes. So I'll just go ahead and ask ChatGPT to turn it into a dark theme. So now it's going to update the CSS to create a dark theme for guess the number. So really CSS is the section between the style tags. I'm guessing it's going to use more of a darker color. And this is the only file we need to change. HTML basically decides what content needs to be displayed in the browser. CSS decides how the content should look. Okay, so we have our new HTML file. We'll go ahead and paste it. And voila, it's all dark here now. 50 is too high, 25 is too high, 12 is too high, 6, 3, 2, wow. So this time the number was 2. And I think that's about it. So now one thing that I want to see is what happens when we open it in a different screen size. It's pretty good. And I think that's about it. And I hope you got to learn something new today. And I'm really curious to see how we are going to use this way of generating code to solve problems that you have or the prototypes that you want to build. I would request you to subscribe. It's a win-win for both of us. When I publish my next project, you'll get a notification, and your subscription is a vote of confidence for me to keep developing this kind of content, as well as it's a social proof for other people to know that, hey, here is content that you can rely on. With that, this is Anurag signing off. Until next time, thank you.